Good afternoon and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us for our webinar about evidencing organic impact, which is our farm data pilot for 2026. And we will get started right away. So we have plenty of time for questions at the end, but also at different points of this presentation. So this is a joint webinar by Soil Association Certification. So we're the ones running the data pilot, and also Soil Association Exchange, which is hosting the platform, but also delivering today's training on data collection and upload. My name is Ed Palairet. I'm a technical manager at Soil Association Certification, and I'll be the one talking you through why we're doing this pilot and a few of the specifics around it before handing over to Jack in Soil Association Exchange. The webinar is being recorded, and we will share the recording link with everyone in the next few days. Within this Zoom platform, you'll see there's several buttons you can press. So one is the chat function for introducing yourself and seeing comments from other people, including from my colleague within the Soil Association. And then there's the Q&A button where you can ask questions of today's panelists. So today what we'll cover is what the pilot is all about, what to collect, how to collect it, and then how to upload it onto the Exchange platform. And within this data pilot, what sits outside of Exchange. So the session is going to be about 1 hour, and it's focused on the practical basics of how to collect biodiversity samples on your farm, and also the option of collecting soil data from your farms, and yeah, really focusing on making it practical and easy to upload. As I mentioned, we'll pause a few times for questions, and we welcome all your comments. After this webinar, we will also be communicating with you by email. So, for example, we'll send you a link to this recording, as well as some of the resources that we'll be introducing later on in this call. So let me start with asking us all why are we interested in data, and why would we be running a data pilot? So hopefully you'll find this of use to you. So maybe in the chat you can add your motivations, but I've put a few examples on the slides that would appear when it wants to now. So it could be for demonstrating the impact of your farming practices. It might be you're keen to hear about the benchmarking, so comparing yourself against other farms. It might be the feature where you can compare your data against previous years. And it could be to help inform management decisions based on sound data. And before we go any further, just to reassure you, as part of this pilot, this is your data and you're in control, and it will be anonymized before it's sent across to Soil Association certification. So, so hopefully that's helpful to know. And then in terms of the wider organic movement, what's the significance of farm data? We've got a few examples here of what the possibilities might be, and we'll discover whether that's the case through this pilot. So are we able to demonstrate the impact of organic farming practices? Is it useful to compare organic against some other logos that you'll see on food products? Can it help inform data-driven decisions, maybe about the standards development? Can it help around communicating what organic is? And towards the end of this webinar, we'll put some links to future events, but you'll see one of the future events next month is about the relaunch of our What You Can Say When You're Selling Organic marketing toolkit. So maybe data can help with the evolution of that. Can it also help shape policy? So, for example, get the government to support it with funding, or get private investors to support it with green finance, and then some other options as well, possibly. So we'll be exploring that as part of this pilot. As we talk about data and its possible uses, we'll be, obviously here we're talking about it being used to inform and influence. And part of the issues we were facing when contemplating collecting data was you probably don't want any more certification forms that you're used to receiving from us as part of your certification year. And so we're really keen to explore this with you using a really modern platform that was developed by Soil Association Exchange. I mentioned it's a pilot, so this is a proof of concept. We'll see whether it works for you and whether it works as a concept. So without sending you additional word processing forms, without sending you additional inspectors, in this format, is this something worth rolling out to more people? Is it worth rolling out across multiple years? So within the Soil Association Exchange platform, we'll be asking participants to complete these survey forms. So there'll be a questionnaire basically on biodiversity, social, farm practices, food production, and soil cover percentage. In addition, you'll get a choice of 3 of these 5 field sampling to carry out yourself. So it could be birds, it could be plants, it could be soil structure, it could be earthworms, and it could be hedgerows. And in today's webinar, we'll be hearing about how to actually go about and capture this information. At this point, I'm passing over to Jack.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jack. I work in Soil Association Exchange, and I'm the operations supervisor. So I'll just share my screen and take you through. Hopefully you can see that. So yeah, we'll do it in 2 different sections today. So we'll look at the biodiversity, then we'll take some questions around that. Then we'll look at the soils. Then Ed will do a little bit more, and then we'll have some final questions at the end. So yeah, the 3 things within the biodiversity category are birds, hedgerows, and plants. How are we thinking to collect that data? So the first thing that you will need is the Exchange app. I'm sorry, yeah, it's another app that you have to download, but this one really does make everything a lot easier for you. It's available on most smartphones. If you have any problems with downloading it on your phone, please just get in touch with either us or certification, and we can sort that out for you. The QR codes on screen now, you can just get up your phone camera and download the app. But if not, we'll share this with you later, and you can also just type in Soil Association Exchange into your phone's application, and you can download it from there. So the first thing that we would like to look at is hedgerow surveys. We would request that you do these in 2 fields. So looking at fields that have maybe some varying hedgerows within them, whether that be age, structure, species. And once you're in that field, we ask that you assess all of the hedgerows in that field, so the full perimeter of the field. A lot of these tests can be kind of combined with each other, so you can do all of them in the same field and kind of get them done in one attempt. But we recommend doing the hedgerow plant survey at the same time as this, just because you're assessing the hedgerow, so you might as well assess the plants that live beneath it. This one isn't kind of seasonally linked, so unlike birds and plants, which are, this one you can do at any time of the year. So if if you feel like you want to get some other ones out of the way first now in spring, summer time, then that'd be great. And then you can go back and do hedges when you have a bit more time, maybe in winter. What you'll need to assess a hedgerow is you'll always need the Exchange app. That's the first thing. You need a tape measure or a 2-meter stick, and also a hedgerow structure reference sheet, which I can just give you a bit of example here. So there's 10 categories within the hedgerow assessment sheet, and they kind of each have about 3 to 5 bullet points on how you would categorize them into this. Some of them may fit into 2, so it may be that it's density managed and it might be a H5 and a H6, but just kind of go for the one that seems best for you. I can show you some examples here. So on the website that they have, we will share all of this with you. As you can see, these are kind of 5 bullet points that I said to categorize it into each of the sections. There's also some photos on here that will just give you an example of what they might be if you're struggling to reference. So this one here you can see has been stuck in a H5, and it gives you a kind of breakdown of why they have put it into that. And you can find this for all different examples of maybe tall and overgrown, over trimmed, rejuvenated hedges, so if it's recently been laid. So this you can use as a resource, but most of it's fairly self-explanatory, and you should be able to categorize them into one of the 10 quite easily. I'll just go back to the presentation. So when we're entering this data into the app, I will show you here. This is what the app looks like on a phone. There's obviously the desktop version, which you probably would have already looked at to sign up. And I can show you how to enter stuff in that way, but we recommend doing it in the field on the app. That way you don't have to take it on a notebook and then take it home, and lots of different steps involved. This should be a lot easier. So once you've logged into the app, your farm will come up, and you'll click My Data in the bottom tab, and then field sampling, because we're doing field sampling. And the top one is all samples. We don't have any planned samples for this, so you're free to go wherever you want. So click the all samples. Then you should get the list of everything that we're talking about today. So here's the 5 different tests that you could do. Again, we're doing 3 out of the 5, or however many you want. But yeah, 3 as a minimum. And then just click the add button, and that will allow you to enter in the information around the hedgerows. You will hopefully be standing in the spot where you're taking this information. So you should just press the big brown button that says Save GPS, and that will use your location on your phone to kind of pinpoint where you were stood when you took this. I'm obviously not in a field right now, so I will be entering this manually. So I would just mark it on the map. You can also use this if you are back, say it started raining as you were midway through an assessment, you go back to your house, you can enter it in this way. So I'm just going to go in this field here, say I'm standing along this side. And then we have the option to measure the hedgerow. So the really great thing about this tool is you don't have to go and pace around the whole field to get the meter of each hedgerow. You can kind of stay in the middle and look from a distance in a way. So you press the measure hedgerow button, and you can use the satellite map to get a length. So I can kind of see here that the hedgerow starts here and ends up maybe finishing here. As you can see, there's a bit of a break in the hedgerow on this field. And you also be able to see it when you're in the field itself. And you can see that that's given you a measurement of 294.9 meters in length, and that will populate this field here, as you can see. You shouldn't have to change the date and time recorded. That will be today's date and time, so should be relevant. But if you did measure it a month ago, you can of course change that. Then entering in the hedgerow structure as mentioned before, so the H1 to 10. So maybe this one has been recently laid. Enter in the height. So this is where the 2-meter stick or the tape measure is really great for getting it. You want an average height across the whole thing. Obviously, there will be a lot of variety, but yeah, just kind of choose an average height. If it's way too tall for your tape measure, then just kind of take a guess on what you think, I would say. So yeah, the average height, so we would say maybe 3 meters. The width, so and some people get a bit confused. This is the width of the hedgerow, so the depth really. So how, if you poke your stick in or your tape measure in, how long does it take to get to the other side of the hedgerow? So maybe say 2 meters or something like that. The average base canopy, this is from the floor all the way up until the first branch of the hedgerow. Some may be fully on the ground, some are maybe about half a meter, or not 5 meters, half a meter off the ground. The length has been entered for us, and if there's any trees within this hedge, you can add them in. So that would be different species. So if there's just an oak growing in the middle, you can add that in. It's not the amount of bushes within that hedgerow. And then if there's any gaps in the hedge, so maybe, for example, you might have a gate or a little dead patch or something like that, and just look from a distance and kind of guess how many meters they all add up to. Don't have to kind of take hours measuring each tiny gap, just take a guess. So there may be 5 meters of missing hedge. And then any notes for yourself, this is really, so you might want to put, I measure this in the northwest corner of the field, or put in the species that you've observed, anything, but this is kind of free text for you to enter there. And then just press, always looking for the big brown button to save the information, and that, as you can see, has uploaded here. I can click into it and you can see the information that I have entered. And if, for example, you made a mistake and you put in 100 meters as the height, then you can just delete it and re-enter it yourself. So that should be that should be the hedgerow entering. If you do have any issues with this measurement, or you want to put it in yourself, you can always skip the measure hedgerow and enter the length manually. So if I just go back to the presentation, so everything on this slide here is what I've just talked through on the platform. So we move on next to the bird survey. This is kind of one of the easiest, I'd say, and most enjoyable. So you should take at least 5 minutes to do this, but please take as long as you want. You can sit there for hours, as I'm sure many of you already do. We recommend doing it in good weather, and also kind of in early morning is usually best. But I would say don't let that limit you in terms of when you go out. If you are thinking of doing it, just go and do it. The more, the merrier. Any data is good data. And so, yeah, if you want to, if you have the time, do it across different days, across different seasons and different conditions, because that's going to give you the best representation of your farm. Because if you go on a rainy, windy day and there's no birds, you know that's not the truth, that there's no birds on your farm, or we'd hope so anyway. And we recommend that you do this 5 times across different areas of the farm. So we let you choose them, but some recommended spots would be near tree lines, near woodlands, field edges, maybe where you've kind of have little set asides, or even in your own kind of back garden where you might have a bird feeder, or even a neighbor's a bird feeder. So what you'll need for this is, again, the app. We recommend downloading Merlin Bird ID app. If you don't have it already, this is optional, but it's really helpful, and actually quite a remarkable application. So what this does is you set this playing for the 5 minutes, or however long you could set it for hours, and it just listens to the birds that are singing around you and identifies their call or their song, and then makes a list for you, which then you just copy that list and put it straight into the Exchange app. And of course, the other option is visual sight of birds. So you may not hear the kite flying up above you, but you probably will see it. And binoculars can also help you with that. But all of these things are optional, just optional aids, really. Again, for the bird survey, I won't go through everything on this slide. I will just show you on the application. So again, I'll just go through this one more time. So once you arrive onto the application, go to My Data, Field Sampling, and then All Samples, and you should see birds here. You can also click this arrow here, which will show you what has been entered in already. So these ones are just kind of dummy data. And again, that hedgerow that I entered here is listed here. And you can see on the map where they were entered. So that one was entered by me. So if we go to the birds, we can add one. Again, big brown button for saving your location. I shall enter mine myself. So go, probably did this at the same time, so we can just go in the same field, same area. And then there is a list that is given to you. So this is all of the UK birds. So you can hopefully search and choose from here. If you have a different name for it, you can also just enter it in manually yourself. So I might have seen a robin. And so if you start typing, you should see all of the different types of robin that there are. I've just seen a standard one, so I would just click that and now enter that in for you. You can add any notes. You could say, I saw this 1,000 times, or I only saw one of these, and then you just save that bird. You can just keep going, so the location is still stored. So if you've done the Merlin bird app and you're copying across 5 birds that you've seen, you can just add in another one here, and it should save. So then, yeah, that's the bird upload, and you can see these are the ones that I've uploaded into this location here. So that's the bird. Again, nice and simple, and should be quite a fun one for you to do as well. Lastly is the kind of plant category. We recommend that you do this in different areas again, and the 3 areas we look at usually are field margins, maybe in an arable field, and also in a grassland field. How we do it in exchange when we kind of get our team to do it is we do this at the same time as the birds. So we would go to 5 fields, we'd put on the Merlin app, start recording, and then start looking at the floor beneath us or anything, or the kind of any of the plant life around. How we recommend that you do it is if you can take like a piece of rope with you to measure out a 5 by 5 meter quadrant, or you can just do this by sight, however you kind of really want to. But that just gives you a little bit of an area to work from, because you can, once you get into it, you can kind of keep going and going and going, especially in a really species rich grassland. So that kind of just gives you the limit to stay within a 5 by 5 meter square. So you kind of throw out your rope and then just start to have a look. If you're really experienced, you should just be able to do this by sight. We recommend doing it in spring and summertime because things are more recognizable if they are flowering. But if you're not particularly experienced, or it's really hard to identify because it doesn't have a flower, then you can use, there's a few different apps out there, but we recommend using Seek, this one here, or there's also a plant ID app as well. There's a couple ones out there, but yeah, Seek is a really good one. So what you would do is just take a photo on your phone of the leaf or of the plant itself, and it should be able to identify it for you. And then you just again copy and paste that name into the Exchange app. I can show you that now. Again, both birds and plants are just kind of having a look and adding the data, really. No time limit on this one, just kind of searching the whole of that 5 by 5 meter grid. So again, on the Exchange app, my data, field sampling, all samples, and then we will have the plants option here. And you want to enter in, save your location. Again, I probably would have done this all in the same field if it made sense. And then you want to select your plant type. So you're going to have 4 here. So I've mentioned the arable, field margin, and grassland, and I'll come on to the hedgerow plant in a second. But say we went in, this one looks a little bit like a grassland from the satellite. And then again, it's the same as how it works with the birds. So just type in what you might have seen. So you can see there's a thistle there, so I might add that one. Any notes again, but not needed, and then save the plant. And again, your location should be saved, and also the plant types, because it's reckoning you're uploading a few in that area. If not, you can always just say you moved to another field and you only saw one plant, just start again, and you can add in your location. And then start typing in the species again. Then saving that plant. Always looking for the big brown button, otherwise the data won't be saved. And lastly, as I mentioned, in the same category is the hedgerow plant survey. The only way that this differs is instead of doing a 5x5 quadrat, you just do a linear look. So you would measure out that 25-meter length along, like kind of underneath the hedgerow. There can often be really great life under there, and just kind of walk along it and assess in this exact same way that you would do with plants. Great. So I will stop sharing screen and we shall have a look if anyone has any questions at this point.
Thank you, Jack. That's really clear explanation. So we've got a question with people having problems accessing the platform. So for example, the app not working. Would your suggestion be that we put the email address to contact within the chat, hello@soilassociation.exchange, for people to investigate?
Yes.
How do you, yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend, we can either get on the phone with you or do an email thread. So yeah, if you just send us an email with the issue that you're having, we are currently looking into some of the people that have already come through Exchange or already worked on the app, and so maybe that is why you're having an issue is trying to sign up a second time. So yeah, over the next kind of week or so, we'll be sorting those issues. But yeah, please just email us, and we'll get it sorted.
Great, thank you, Jack. So yeah, just to reassure everyone, we have got support available. We also will put the hello email address in the chat, and it's also on our final slide, and it'll be in follow-up communication as well. Okay, we've got another question, and it's about hedgerow assessments and how they're already been done by farmers for the SFI element, for the SFI scheme, and how is this different and why do it again? So I'll just firstly mention hedgerows was one of the assessments that were recommended by our advisory group for this pilot project. And as part of this whole pilot, we totally welcome any feedback. So if you feel that was not a good idea, then we are keen to hear that as part of this pilot. But also I haven't been part of the SFI hedge assessments, so I'm not sure if that's any different to a different methodology or different questions to what Jack you were showing. Do you know if it's similar or very different?
I've not done one of the SFIs myself. I would imagine that it's very similar. If you have data already, then I would say, yeah, pop it in an email to us and we can have a look if we can upload it or support you with uploading that. But if not, and you feel like maybe the hedgerows is not relevant, then I would just choose one of the other 5 categories that maybe you haven't looked at for another scheme. So maybe looking at your soils or your birds or plants instead.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, and then another question, what does the identify button do when adding species?
On the app, yes. So that is kind of our own inbuilt version of like Seek. So that's the like iNaturalist app or Plant ID. Maybe other people have come across. It works. It just doesn't save it like how it would on the Plant ID app. You can kind of go back and look if it, if they compare to what you're already looking at. But it's the same thing. It captures an image and just takes a guess at what it thinks the plant is based on its characteristics.
Thank you, Jack. So I think we've covered the questions we've received so far. So keep the questions coming, and Jack, back to you to talk about soils.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, So next section, we'll be looking at your soils. So there's two assessments within this. So the first one is a visual evaluation of soil structure, or a VES assessment. Some of you may have already come across this before. This is quite a subjective kind of task. So you may do it differently to me. You may grade it slightly differently, but the reason we're doing is the act of looking at your soils. You may already be doing this, which is great. But yeah, it's just an encouragement, really. A lot of the stuff in our platform is benchmarked. So as Ed mentioned earlier, you kind of can be compared against other farmers in kind of with similar enterprises, similar areas of the country. Whereas VES, we don't grade this, so there's no comparison. It's just really for you and for anyone that's kind of working on your farm to understand what the soil is like. So how we would do this assessment is we do 3 pits in each field, and we usually recommend doing around 6 fields. That's what we do in exchange. And we would, if you're doing a cause as well at the same time, that's not part of this with certification, but we would do cause at the same time as doing VES, and we walk in a W pattern to get a complete spread of the cause. But for a VES, you can just walk diagonally across and do 3 different sites. So one near the edge, so maybe more of a kind of margin pit, one very much in the middle, and then again another one along the diagonal. So you're getting the kind of full variety within that field. And we want to be digging 20 centimeter by 20 centimeter pit. If your spade is this size, you can just measure it. That's great, because then you don't really have to think about how deep you're cutting. If you just put the soil all the way to the bottom, then that should be fine. And how we usually do it is we cut the 3 sides of the pit, and then you just lever it out, and it kind of leaves one side uncut by the spade, and therefore unmodified, and you can properly look at what the soil structure is like without being sliced. What you want to do is lay your kind of like block of soil out on a plastic sheet if you have it. It can just be on the ground, but just a plastic sheet allows you to kind of like look at it a little bit better. And I would recommend white or something light against the darker color of the soil. And there should usually be about 2 depths within the block. The top one will be about like kind of the root depth and maybe a little bit further, and then there should be a differing layer, and they should kind of break away from each other. And we use this to input this into the Exchange app. So you give a score for the top layer and a score for the bottom layer, and tell us how deep each layer was. So the first one may be 10 and 10, it may be that easy, or it might just be 5 centimeters and then 15. So you want to have a look at, you're assessing each of these depths. So how you do that is kind of like just play with the soil, really breaking up the blocks and kind of having a look. And we will give this to you, but there is a score guide on how you score a VES. And so a 1 in this system, which is slightly confusing, is really good, and a 5 is not so good. And I'm definitely not a soil expert, and I'm sure all of you will know a lot more about this than I do. But you kind of look at each category and assess which one it is. Again, like I said, it is a very subjective method. So some may put it in a 1 and some may put it in a 2, but the whole idea is you're just kind of checking whether it's good or bad. And then how we would upload that into the app is, again, the exact same way. So going to my data, going to field sampling, all samples, and then VES assessments, entering your location, choosing whether it's a mineral or a peat soil. If you know that, if you don't, then I would just recommend going for mineral, because not so much peat. And then, as I mentioned, top layer. So this is from the roots down to where it breaks, entering in that depth. So it may be 10 centimeters, and then giving it that score based on the card. So 1 if it's really good, if it's really friable, 5 if it's kind of big chunks, really hard to break up. And they may differ. So then the bottom layer may be great. I mean, that's unlikely, but it may be more something like this. So the top layer is looking really good, but then the bottom layer, not so much, or not as good. And then any notes for yourself. So again, this is just giving contextual information that you want to refer to at a later point. So yeah, this is just for yourself. And then you would save that best sample there. We will obviously be circulating this scorecard, and feel free to ask any questions about this assessment. And then the second one within soils, which I would say do at the same time. So if you're going to do soils, then I would say do both VES and earthworms, because you're already there pulling apart the soil. So you might as well just pull out the worms and count them. So we count all of the worms that you see. If you are really interested, or maybe you're really knowledgeable about worms, then you can choose to indicate which species you have. So these are the 3 species here on the right. We will also be sharing this card on how to identify them. And you can also say if they're adult or juvenile. Juvenile species can be quite hard to identify, so don't worry too much about trying to identify the juveniles. Just try and identify the adults if you're interested. If you just are doing the VES and just kind of want to pull out the earthworms and count them, that's also great. We added this kind of level of complexity for people that were interested, but you can also enter the total earthworm count into the platform, and I'll show you how to do that as well. So again, my data, field sampling, all samples, earthworms, the last one here. Choosing your location. And then you can see those 3 species have been split out here, and you've got the juvenile count and the adult count. If we're not doing the species, you can just click the blue button up here that says enter total count, and then just enter the amount that you have. I recommend maybe taking out like a little piece, like old Tupperware or something, to put them all in. Otherwise, they'll, as you're assessing the soil, they'll all kind of like work their way back in and off the sheet. So yes, that's just a little tip. And then you can enter the amount that you have. And then this one is compared, so you can see what other people's fields and farms look like for their earthworms. So just a little bit, like last few things really. The Exchange app, it does work offline. So if you don't have any signal, then that's completely fine. I would just say, just make sure that you open the application and like log in when you have signal. So whether at your home or the last point where you have signal within the field. And then when you get back home, what will happen is your phone will have stored all of this offline data, and you just need to press the sync button, and that will sync your phone to the internet and share any data, so that then when you log back in on your desktop, everything will be there. As I mentioned, you can upload after recording it. So I'll just show you that as a last measure. So just bear with me. So this is what the Exchange app looks like as a desktop version. And as you can see, it's a fairly similar structure. So the bar that was along the bottom is now on the left. So I would go to My Data, Field Sampling, All Samples, and then the same list is there, and you can just add them in. There isn't really much difference, except for the map is now just a little bit bigger. So it should all kind of, everything that we've mentioned today should just transfer onto the desktop. And you can do, as I'm doing here, add anything outside of the app when you get back home. And lastly, I'll just show this on here. There's this thing called the Learning Hub, and there's loads of information on here. There's case studies, so that's like anyone that has people that have gone through Exchange and really loved it. There's things like little kind of bits of advice, and there's also tutorials around how to do this stuff. So there's someone in the field doing a VES survey. They would demonstrate in a much better way than I have done today, because I'm obviously not in the field. Bird surveys there, lots of different things, how to use the platform. If you wanted to do a carbon calculator, all of this stuff. I'll also show you what Ed mentioned earlier, which is in the My Data section. There is the survey questions that exist here. And so you're doing a few of these, and then also a couple more on the side. So soil cover and food production is a list of 5. Feel free to do more if you want to answer things like water is not on the list, and neither is animal welfare. So, but don't have to fill those out. Yeah. So the things that we will be sharing after this call will be a data collection handbook. So kind of these slides just made into a nice A5 booklet that you can print out and take around the farm with you. Any video materials, you can also find these on the Learning Hub. We'll send you lots of resources, and of course this presentation and the recording.
Yeah, we'll get the slides back up. And while that's reloading, just wanted to share. So as part of this pilot, we've got a number of organic farms that are keen to join, and that's brilliant because we've got such a range. We've got a range of geography, we've got the range of size of farms, we've got a range of crops, range of livestock, and also a range of how long the land's been under organic management. So yeah, this pilot should be really interesting for us. As we've heard from Jack around how to use the platform, I think it's really encouraging. So basically, if you've got a smartphone but no signal, that's okay. And if you've got if you don't have a smartphone, paper and using the computer when you get home is also an option. So that's brilliant. And we've alluded a few times to the platform and the information we'll ask you to collect as part of the pilot. So those 5 questionnaires and those 3 field sampling, things around birds, earthworms, etc. But we've actually given you full access to the whole platform. So while those are the minimum we're asking for, you feel free to access the whole platform and record things that you'd like to see. So what I like to speak about now is the things we'll do outside of the Exchange platform. So Jack's talked to us about the how to log in and how to record things and how to go into the fields. As well as that, we'll be asking you to take photos when you do it. So, for example, take a photo of the sward when you're using the app. Also, take a photo of that 5 meter by 5 meter or of that hedgerow, or maybe a screenshot when you're using the Merlin bird app. That will, because we might ask to see it. It's called data validation. It just means you've inputted all the data, and we might ask to just be able to just sense check that it's likely correct. And obviously it would be, but as part of this pilot, we just want to be able to confirm that. Okay. So that's about taking photos and keeping them for the duration of the pilot. And the other part that we'll do outside of the platform is to ask you to share your experience. So did it work for you? Did it work for you in this format? What was difficult? What was a challenge? And what did you love about it? So we know from our colleagues at Soil Association Exchange that the platform gets lots of very good feedback and good reviews and things like that. But did it work for you? So we'll be reaching out to you towards the end of the pilot to get a sense from you of how it was. Okay, so I'll pause for questions. So great to hear that the app is working now. So thank you. Now the next question: when you analyze all the data, how do you expect us to benefit? it's time consuming, and obviously here we are asking for your time to go in and collect this data, and we really acknowledge that and value your time. We've tried to design it in a way that it can hopefully be incorporated into your working day, but still, it is an extra thing that we are asking participants to do. With So yeah, we've tried to design it in a way that that is realistic, that isn't burdensome, and to equip you also with the technology. So yeah, giving you that full access to the technology, which can work in the field, but also back at home, rather than sending you long forms and things to tick off. So we'll see if that works for you as part of the feedback. Um, but yeah, in terms of how it might benefit you, in a way, there's the information that you put in and that how you use it, and I'll ask Jack to comment on that in a second. And then there's also the data analysis part of it that that my team will be working on to say, actually, from those who participated in this, what can we conclude? Is there a really strong narrative in one area or two or all of the things as like organic farmers are performing really strongly in, and we don't want to, like, we obviously believe strongly that organic farming practices is has got a very strong impact for nature and for people, but we'd like to see the data and to see whether that kind of corroborates that story or tells us something more nuanced. So yeah, unfortunately, I can't tell you what the outcome will be just yet. But maybe as more questions pop up, Jack, do you have any thoughts on how collecting this data and holding it in the platform can actually benefit farmers themselves?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the kind of like yeah, the thing that stands out to me the most is people don't necessarily always engage in this. And I think kind of being asked to engage in some of these data, or maybe not all of it, um, all of these things feed into like a holistic, um, yeah, overview of your farm, and all the practices that you do affect all of these things. So I would say if all of them are looking good, then you're looking good across the board. But sometimes people kind of maybe fail to realize some of the things that they may be affecting through their farming practices. So yeah, that would be, I think, my main benefit.
Okay, we've got a question here about the sort of timescale that we're doing the data collection over. So that's a question for me. Basically, we're looking at this growing season. This is a 2026 data pilot. So come the autumn, yeah, my team will be looking at what's been uploaded and what can we conclude from that. So yeah, we're very much looking at summer/early autumn as part of the data collection. And hopefully with how Jack's outlined it, you'll already be able to start seeing, okay, I can fit that half an hour in when I do this task, or that 5 minutes of listening to the birds while I'm doing that one. So yeah, we really hope it won't be having too many negative impacts on you, and that the timescale is okay as well, knowing that we are already towards the end of June. Got a question here about using the mapping function on the app and for other things. So if it isn't about recording ecology, soil, but could it be used for making logs of where the telegraph poles are or obstacles in fields? Can it do that, Jack?
No, not currently. Yeah, we've not had that request before, but we can definitely look into it. But not at the moment, it doesn't know. It's just for entering in the things that we've been talking about today. You can obviously categorize the field, like the kind of the land cover of the field, so that that is what we use it for, but no, not individual things within the field.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that, Jack. Yeah, I accidentally drove over one of those irrigation hydrants when I was on farm, and I wished I had a map that showed me not to do that. But yeah, not in its current iteration. Okay, I think we now covered the questions that we've received. So thanks everyone for engaging so well with the contents today. And now that we've seen and heard the training, you're good to go with collecting the data. We've got 2 email addresses here, so you can make contact. The certification one is sacl.notifications@soilassociation.org. So that will reach myself and my team. That will be about the pilot. That will be about the data analysis and things like that. And then we got the hello@soilassociation.exchange email address for using the platform, getting access, and things like that. The recording will be shared with you later this week. There'll be a follow-up email where we'll share some of the links that we also put in the chat today. You'll receive a feedback form so that we get feedback on how you felt this webinar was, and there's also, if you go into the chat soon, there is a link to upcoming events, which we'd encourage you to look at, because there might be something that's of interest to you. I see there's been another question / comment in the chat here about how will I record 138 plant species from one field. Not sure how, but looking forward to have a go. So thank you. That's a really positive spirit to it. Jack, do you have any thoughts on that 5x5 and how it actually is going to work out?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, it will save your location, so you can just add them really quickly. Just keep typing them in. That's why we usually limit it to a 5x5 quadrant, just so that it's not a kind of crazy amount of data. Sadly, there isn't a bulk uploader function at the moment. We can support with soil bulk uploading, so like soil lab results, if you do kind of have those. But with the plants, we don't have a bulk upload for them. Sorry.
Okay, brilliant. So those questions went right up to the end of the webinar. Really good engagement. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for spending your time. I know some of you enjoyed being able to shelter from the heat for an hour, but a lot of you, I know this is really fitting into a very busy season for you. So really grateful for everyone who was able to join, everyone who's watching back on the webinar. Thanks for joining. Thanks for participating in this data pilot. And thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.